welcome back to my channel. My name's Anna, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. If you catch me staring right over here, it's because I have my iPad with my notes, just by the way. So excuse, my hair is not hairing today. If you can hear the rain, it's extremely humid. Yeah, this is just, let's ignore that mess. I have read a total of 52 books this year. And the first question is best book you've read so far in 2024. It was really hard to choose. And because it's my channel and you can't tell me what to do, I'm gonna go ahead and break the rule and give you my top 3 because I couldn't choose just one. In the order that I read them, I believe. The first one is a little novella. It's like 36 pages. This was a reread. I read it last year, absolutely loved it. Had to read it again. By Alex E. Harrow. It's called The 6 Deaths of the Saint. I honestly don't want to tell you anything about it. Just please go ahead and read it. Absolutely beautiful. If you have read Alex E. Harrow in the past, she is an outstanding author. I have loved many of her books, which I am now completely blanking on. The 10,000 Doors of January, The Starling House, The 6 Deaths of the Saint. I am like halfway through The Once and Future Witches. I need to finish it. It's just like it's the only book I have left by her that I haven't read, I believe. And therefore I'm like putting it off until she writes more. Just a little interruption here because I totally forgot I have also read 2 other of her short novellas. They are a little fantasy fairy tale retellings, if I can remember correctly. Yeah, I highly recommend. They were great. The next one would be I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, which is translated from French. I absolutely, can I even say I love this book because it was heart-wrenching, devastating, incredibly depressing and bleak, and just nothing happy whatsoever happens in this book. And I blame Emily Fox for hyping the hell out of it and recommending it a million times. Thank you, because I did love it. I read this with one of my best friends in our little buddy read book club thing that we have going on every month, and we both really highly enjoyed it. And basically, I don't want to give anything away. It's a dystopian novel where a group of 40, is it 40? Yeah, a group of 40 women, I believe, I read this a couple months ago, are being kept underground, trapped, and they're guarded by like 3 guards that always come and go. They're not allowed to speak to the guards don't speak to them. They've been trapped in there for a really long time. They're not really sure how long, but it's definitely been years. And the book is told from the point of view of the youngest girl there. She's like 13 or so when the book starts, and it's told from her point of view. Out of nowhere, one day, without knowing why, the doors open and the guards disappear, and the story proceeds. I don't want to give any spoilers. Please read it. It's a very short novel. Absolutely loved it. I'm definitely gonna be rereading that one for sure. It leaves you with so many questions at the end, and yet I want to read it again and put myself through that pain again for some reason. So yeah. Anyways, and last but not least is the book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. This was the first book I've ever read by him. I know he's been a pretty established fantasy author for a long time. He has many other books and many other series. If you love stories about stories, if you love magical, ancient, almost sentient, infinite libraries and that kind of like mystery of having to discover what is going on by diving into stories within stories, read this book. It touches upon certain subjects in a really good way. It reminds me a little bit of Blood Over Bright Heaven, which was my favorite book of last year. No questions asked, hands down, one of the best books I've read in my life, one of my favorite books ever. So I would highly recommend both of those, but this year, The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence, for sure. Best sequel you've read so far in 2024, and that would have to be Jade War, hands down, by Fonda Lee. I just finished it last week or something. It broke me. I cried so many times throughout it. And yeah, I loved it. If you have not heard about the Greenbone Saga, what are you doing? Okay, let me take that back. Some people love it, some people are not able to get past the first book. And I totally understand because I read the first book with my best friend. beginning of the year, and I struggled to get through it. It has a lot of world building. It's very, very heavy on the world building, and therefore in the first book it's harder to feel attached to the characters and to feel like you get to know them, because the book is so focused on teaching you about the world and the politics and the culture and the religion and the issues that are going on between the clans. It's urban fantasy. There's this rock called Jade, and this magical rock basically gives powers to those who are able to wear it. It makes them faster, it makes them stronger, it makes them lighter, it gives them better perception, so they're able to perceive others' emotions and intentions easier. Can you tell that I've had a long day and English is my second language? But yeah, I highly recommend. The second book, I was not even sure I was going to finish the series, but I have set myself this goal for this year to finish as many series as I can, because I have so many that I've started and just left unfinished, and I have to either finish it or DNF it. I was like, okay, let me just try the second book, because I didn't hate the first book, I just didn't love it. I still gave it a high rating because I thought it was incredibly well done. So going into the second book, I didn't have high expectations. Oh my lord, was I surprised and loved it, and immediately felt connected to the characters, and I sobbed with this book. So there's that. Next question would be, new release you haven't read yet but want to. And that would be The Book That Broke the World by Mark Lawrence, which is the sequel to The Book That Wouldn't Burn. I need to read it. It came out a couple months ago, I think, and I haven't gotten around to it yet. Why? You tell me. I should have gotten around to it, but I haven't, so need to read that. Next question, most anticipated release for the second half of 2024. That would have to be, there's a bunch that I've been wanting to read that I've kept my eyes on. They look like they're gonna be really great, and I'm not gonna lie, this one is purely because I'm judging it based off the cover. The cover art, can we appreciate this? I don't know, I'm gonna put it somewhere here. Can we appreciate how beautiful this is? This book was recommended, I think, by Rachel from A Model Who's Read. I think she's the one who first mentioned it, or like I first watched mentioned, and I fell in love with the cover. I don't even know what it's about, but it's gorgeous. A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. Can I call myself an artist? As someone who enjoys art and who enjoys painting and drawing and stuff, this is just stunning and very inspiring. So yeah, I want to read that. Next question, biggest disappointment of the year so far. That would have to sadly be The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. And if you watched my last video, I talked a bit more about why I really dislike this book, and I don't want to go too much into it because this is going to be a long video. Well, I hope you can hear me. The rain is getting really strong. But yeah, this book was just, I went in with high-ish expectations. I had heard some bad reviews, but I was still hopeful because I liked Leigh Bardugo. I like Leigh Bardugo. I loved Shadow and Bone when I was like a couple, I don't know, like 6 years ago or whenever I read those. I love Shadow and Bone. I love Six of Crows in Crooked Kingdom. I have not read the other ones in that Grishaverse universe, but I have read some of her novellas in that world. But The Familiar was such a letdown, and to keep things short and simple, it felt, and I think I'm the only one who said this, but it felt like Twilight. Okay, I'm talking about only the romance aspect of this book, which was the biggest disappointment of the whole story. The plot also, not the worst, not the best. I loved how it started. I loved the atmosphere. Everything was going well, and then it just like kept going downhill. It just really not the best. And the ending, am I the only one who really hated that ending? The romance felt like Twilight. Basically, young, innocent woman who's never been with anyone before, super unexperienced, oh my god, super nice and naive, and falls in love with like the dark, tall, handsome, mysterious, kind of evil, ancient character. Bad boy. He's like hundreds and hundreds of years old, if not thousands. I don't actually know how old he is, but why do you keep doing this? Why is this a trope? I am so done. This is why I don't read a lot of young adult anymore, because I am done with this trope. Anyways, let's move on. Next question is biggest surprise, and once again I'm gonna break the rules here because it's my channel. I'm gonna give you 2 recommendations. First one is When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. Like, where have you been, Veronica Roth? Like, after that Divergent series back in the 2010s, which I know the whole hype was dystopian young adult books. We all loved it. We all were obsessed. After that, I've only read one other short novella by Veronica Roth called Arc, I'm pretty sure. It's like a science fiction. I liked it, not my favorite, but I was like, okay, this is very different to her divergent writing, young adult writing. It's adult. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna give her another chance because Rachel from A Model Who's Read recommended this one, When Among Crows, by Veronica Roth. It's based on Slavic folklore, urban fantasy. Once again, I don't think I want to give you any information about it. Like, it's just such a well done novella. I wished it was longer. That's how good it was. Like, usually novellas are like the perfect length, and to be able to write this kind of story and make you love the characters and believe the relationships between them and the friendships, and there's a little bit of romance, and if you love a good little gay romance and just beautiful like found family vibes, she made it so believable and so raw and real in such a short amount of words. Like, I think that's a talent to be able to do that. Like, I take my hat off to Veronica Roth. Beautiful, loved it. Follow the main character, Dimitri. He has basically been raised his whole life to slay monsters, and there's these like different kinds of monsters, and he's been raised in this like society kind of cult where they are taught from a very young age to slay these monsters. And it's basically the story of this main character coming to terms with the fact that the Holy Order, like this cult that he's been part of pretty much, might not be in the right, and the monsters might not be as bad as they were portrayed. And yeah, I don't want to say much more. And the imagery in this book is insane. The way that she's able to write, it felt like I was watching a movie. I don't even know if I want to spoil things, but it's just like it's a little bit gory. The way the members of the Holy Order work is they give half of their soul or part of their soul to become members of the Holy Order, and part of their soul becomes their weapons. And so he has like these two swords basically like engraved into his spine, and whenever he wants to use them to like fight monsters, he has to rip them out of his spine, like in the most like gory, bloody, way. It's also incredibly well written, and I don't know, the imagery was just very, very well done. I absolutely loved it, so I highly recommend. And the next one is Boulder by Eva Baltasar, and this is originally written in Catalan, and I don't speak or read Catalan, so I read it in Spanish because I thought that was going to be the closest to the original. I also want to read it in English eventually to see how the translation has been done, because I'm highly interested in that. It's a short literary fiction about this woman, which I found really interesting, that throughout the whole book you never find out her name. She is nicknamed Boulder by her girlfriend. So it's the story of this woman who works on ships. She's like the cook on ships, and she meets her girlfriend, I think in Argentina or Chile, I'm not sure. And it's like a really quick romance. They have like a one-night stand, end up falling in love, of course, because lesbians. And she decides to move to Iceland with her because her girlfriend got a job in Iceland, and she's like, you know what, I'll follow you to Iceland. Like, duh, that's what girls do for love. So she follows her to Iceland, and the book crosses many years of their relationship as they're together, and they battle with relationship issues and normal life struggles. But the main focus of the book is what happens when one partner wants to have children and the other one doesn't, and how that can not only affect the relationship but affect the individual. And then what happens when you do have a child and one parent didn't want it and one parent really did want it, and it's devastating. It's a devastating story. Again, not a happy ending. Did I cry with this book? No, I don't think I did, but the writing is beautiful. I don't know how it is in English. I still haven't read the translation, but if you read Spanish or you're learning Spanish, no, actually, if you're learning Spanish, don't read this book, because the writing uses, whoever translated it from Catalan to Spanish did an exquisite job. They use vocabulary, which I guess I know. I didn't think I knew, because I never in my life used those words, and I never would have thought to put them together in that way. But it's beautiful, and it's making me want to read more by Eva Baltasar and definitely read more in Spanish, which I don't do, but it made me realize that, which just sounds so stupid, like it's my first language, but I never read in Spanish, but it made me realize that Spanish literature can be absolutely stunning. So yeah, highly recommend. New favorite author, I'm gonna go ahead and say Fonda Lee. No surprise, I'm obsessed with the Greenbone saga, and I had not read anything by her before until this year. Newest favorite character. This one was also hard because there's quite a few that I absolutely loved, but I'm gonna have to go with Murderbot from the series, the Murderbot series. I'm currently in book 5, and I just absolutely love his humor, his dark, sarcastic humor. And I love his complete disdain and like disgust towards humans. And it's just very funny the way that he speaks and the way that he thinks about humans and the way that he interacts with them. And yeah, I love that the book is from his point of view. And he's a robot, basically. A murder bot. He was like made to be a murder bot, basically like a robot that is like a protection robot, and he fights them like, you know, he's a murder bot. He's there to murder bad humans. He basically hacks his own system and decides that he no longer wants to be a murder bot because all he wants to do is watch TV shows and have a chill life and get as far away from humans as possible. And I don't judge him. I don't blame him, and I love him. I also highly recommend the audiobooks. I feel like the narrator does a really good job at showing his sarcasm and his humor, and his voice really good. Next question, book that made you cry. Once again, I think the only book that made me cry this year was Jade War. Yeah, I think that was the only book that made me cry. Time is a Mother by Ocean Vuong. I have it right over here. Didn't make me cry, made me want to cry because the writing was beautiful and devastating, but I don't think I shed any tears. Book that make you happy. All Systems Red, first one in the Murderbot series. God, all of them have just made me laugh so much. And also Boy of Chaotic Making, which is the 3rd book in the series. What is the series called? It's like a little cozy historical fantasy Wimberle House trilogy. So this was the last one in the trilogy, and I just loved. Oh, never mind. There's another one coming out next year apparently, so there's gonna be more. Oh, I guess I'm adding that to my want to read. A very good ending, so. But yeah, it made me happy because it felt like a very good, happy, sweet, cozy ending. Most beautiful book you bought this year. I have not bought many books this year. I have bought a lot on Kindle, but like physical books, I haven't really bought that many books this year. I have a lot of unread physical books that I need to, you know, not ignore. But I do have 2. This one and this one. Okay. The Shadow of the Gods by John, I'm not gonna pronounce his last name, I'll put it right here. But I think this is just such a beautiful cover. Also, this is the size that dragons should be. That is the person right here. This is the dragon. Yes, this is how big dragons should be. Can we please acknowledge that? House of the Dragon, what are you doing? Game of Thrones, this is how big dragons should be. Yeah, I thought this was a beautiful cover. And then also, this is just stunning. The Spirit Bears Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. Just look at the details in this cover. Anything inside? It's a hardcover. Oh, I mean, that's kind of cool. It has like an eye. So pretty. And last but not least, what books do you really need to read by the end of this year? All of them. So many. But more by Ocean Vuong for sure. I want to read his other poetry collections. I need to read the next one in the library trilogy, the book that broke the world, my physical books that I've been ignoring for too long. Somewhere Beyond the Sea, which is the sequel to The House on the Cerulean Sea. I'm so excited to read that one. I just can't wait for it. I think it's already out, or it's coming out soon. I don't know. But I need to finish the Greenbone saga, so I need to finish Jade Legacy and then read the little novellas. And finally, maybe, hopefully, this year, I need to finally read The Prayer of the Orange Tree and Day of Fallen Night. No, that's wrong. I'll put them right here. The 2, you know which ones I'm talking about. Both absolutely beautiful covers. These also count for like the most beautiful books I've bought this year. I have them on Kindle. Eventually one day I want to have them as physical books just because they're stunning. And yeah, I mean, so many more, but I'm just gonna leave it at that because it's already a really long video. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next video.